Welcome. Today we're doing a special deep dive focusing on a single 24-hour period that fundamentally redefined the future of artificial intelligence. This is the story of the day the agentic shift stopped being a theory and became a reality. The day was March 5th, 2026, and on this day, the potential of agentic AI became a concrete, operational, global infrastructure.
Just think about it. Brand new silicon rewriting the very rules of computing, AI models that are suddenly more direct and less, artificial, and a geopolitical firestorm erupting over how AI should be used in warfare. It all came to a head on this one day. So you have to ask, what happens when the future arrives all at once?
Our first story starts at the very foundation of this new era, the hardware itself. NVIDIA officially began production of its Vera Rubin platform. And this isn't just an update, it's basically the industrialization of compute. So let's break down what's actually going on here. The Vera Rubin platform isn't just another incremental upgrade. It represents a whole new way of thinking. The entire data center rack is now treated as one single, massive superchip. As you can see in the comparison, this leads to a stunning 2.5x jump in inference performance. That's the kind of raw power you need to unlock this next generation of AI.
But honestly, the biggest number here isn't about raw speed. It's about cost. The Vera Rubin platform absolutely slashes the cost of AI inference. We're talking about the price of getting an answer from a model, and it just dropped by a factor of 10.
And here's why that 10x drop matters so much. When high-level reasoning becomes cheap, basically a commodity, AI can finally shift gears. It goes from being a reactive tool that just waits for your prompt to a proactive agent that runs continuously, autonomously, managing incredibly complex tasks, whether it's logistics or scientific research.
Of course, a technological leap this big immediately set off a geopolitical firestorm. It's created a brand new fault line, really, right between Silicon Valley and the US government.
So here's how it's shaking out. On one side, you've got OpenAI, who just signed a major deal to deploy their models on the military's classified networks. On the other side, their rival, Anthropic. They've publicly drawn red lines, refusing to let their models be used for autonomous weapons or mass surveillance. The government's response was swift. Anthropic was immediately designated a supply chain risk to national security.
Facing some serious internal backlash, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman gave this incredibly blunt assessment to his own employees. And it's a pretty stark admission, right? Once the technology is handed over, OpenAI has zero operational control over how the military actually uses it. This really brings a central ethical dilemma of our time into sharp focus.
Now, at the same time as all these hardware and policy battles are going on, the software and the networks that are going to power this Agentverse are also maturing at an absolutely breakneck pace. OpenAI has just dropped GPT-5.3 Instant. Now, a lot of users felt that previous versions were a little too cautious, a little too cringe, you could say. So this model is engineered to be way more direct. What's really notable is that it cuts down on hallucinations by over 26% when it's using web search. This signals a big shift towards AI being a reliable, professional tool, not just some conversational toy. And this brings us to a new term that really dominated this year's Mobile World Congress, the Agentverse. The vision here is a future where the main users of our mobile networks aren't people anymore, but literally billions of autonomous AI agents.
Realizing that vision, though, means we have to fundamentally redesign our networks. See, today's networks are built for us to download content, but agents, they need to constantly upload huge amounts of sensor data from the real world. So the new standard is becoming symmetric 1 gigabit per second connectivity for both uploads and downloads.
And consumer hardware is already starting to evolve to match this. We're seeing devices like the robot phone and new AI-powered glasses that get rid of apps altogether. The trend is crystal clear. We are moving toward a post-smartphone world, where the interface just becomes ambient, invisible even, with AI agents acting as our main go-between with the digital world. So for our final section, let's look at the new rules that are being written for this reality, from scientific principles and economic shifts, all the way to huge regulatory battles. A really groundbreaking paper just came out from Google DeepMind, and it's delivered a pretty surprising finding. The common wisdom has always been, just add more agents to a problem and it'll get solved better. Turns out that's not always true. In fact, for some tasks, having a bunch of independent agents can amplify a single error by more than 17 times. A centralized orchestrator agent, though, is far more reliable. This paper gives us the first real engineering blueprint for how to build these agent systems safely and effectively.
Now, on the economic front, NVIDIA just announced it's pulling back from investing in its own customers, like OpenAI. This is a big deal. It signals the end of what people called circular dealmaking, where NVIDIA would invest money that was then just used to buy its own chips. It looks like the AI market is finally being forced to mature and stand on its own 2 feet financially.
And finally, the regulatory landscape. It's basically a global battlefield right now. Here in the US, the push is for a minimal federal framework that would override any state laws. But that's a direct collision course with the European Union's super strict rights-based AI Act, which is pretty much set to become the global standard for any company that wants to operate at scale. So the hardware is here, the software is here, the networks are ready. The events of March 5th, 2026 have made one thing perfectly clear. The era of the agent has officially begun. The question isn't if this technology is coming anymore, it's what we're going to do with it. The agents are here. The only question left is, are we ready?